The HVAC Uncensored Podcast is brought to you by Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket is one of the biggest names in the HVAC industry. Check them out at www.yellowjacket.com. And remember, 66 years of expertise built into every tool.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States.
If you're trying to take your HVAC game to the next level, then buckle your seatbelt, crank up the volume, and try not to be offended. Because you're listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast with Gil Kelley and Kelly McKay. Now, here's Gil and Kelley.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast, where...
let's get ready to rumble!
Anyway, welcome back to episode 14 of the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil Kelley, yours truly, sitting across my good buddy and a confidant, Mr. Kelly McKay. What is up, my friend?
What's up, brother?
Sorry, man. I've been playing around with the sound effects. I'm like a little kid. I'm all giddy.
Yes, you are giddy.
I feel like I got the nuclear launch codes and my fingers on the button.
That's scary.
It is. You definitely don't want me to have that kind of power.
No.
Give me the power.
So what's been up, man? How's business?
It's kind of slow, man. We're actually it's slower than I would like it to be. We have stuff to do, but I won't lie, guys ain't getting 40. I mean, they're probably in the 30s doing a lot of the work that I've talked about that's been an issue, going back and fixing it. But obviously, I mean, you're paying people to do that, but you're not. It's shit that was already paid for, so there's no money coming in. And I think they might have something worked out where those guys ain't getting paid for the whole time or something like that. Because,
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of their fuck up kind of deal. Our PMs are getting ready to start up. I think they're scheduled. Actually, there's a couple sprinkled in, but they should start hot and heavy here within the next week or so. So we shouldn't be bad. Like we've said before, summer was good enough that, you know, a week or so of being not too busy isn't really alarming.
Sure.
But how about you guys, man? How you doing?
We're actually pretty busy, but we did start our PMs already. They started earlier this week. I did a voice shot last week, so, you know, just a recorded voice message. It went out, and then that blows our phones up, gets some stuff scheduled, and so it's going good. And we've got some bigger installs. When I say bigger installs, I just mean heavy labor installs where we got to do a bunch of duct work and shit. So we're pretty busy, and we've had some sales too as well. We've been pretty fortunate here because the weather is pretty mild. But summer is kind of hanging on. I mean, we've had some days it's the upper 80s, and so air conditioners are still running. But it's going to be over quick. Like next couple of days, it drops off, and then it's like 60s, upper 60s. So it's almost over.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. It's going to be the same way here. We're I'm actually trying to check our weather here lately. It's been in like the 80s. It's been kind of humid, but not enough. Like I said before, it's not enough for people to call in for AC issues. A couple that we've had have been like warranty or some commercial calls. Sure. Like I went to one today that's like they make gravel, and it's actually a sweet little setup. When I go back, I might take pictures, but it was one of those barred units. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Worked on a couple of those.
Those things fucking blow.
Yeah, they do.
Everything about them is fucking asinine. And then this one, you know, is like up on the side of a building where they have to raise me up, lower me up. That's like a fucking oxymoron. They have to raise me up in a boom to be able to get to it. And the guy's got to stand right next to me. Thank God the guy was cool, because I was like, dude, you're going to have to like take me take me out on a date first before we get this close. I mean,
Yeah.
fucking like breathing on me and shit. Like, dude, like, can't you get on the other side of that cage? You got to be like all up my ass.
The last one I worked on was a really cool business concept. It was close to the Wichita River Fest, which is like every year, a big get together for a week long, filled with activities and fair type stuff and all kinds of stuff go on, concerts. But the guy had a trailer because that's where the barred units are typically mounted, right? But he brought it to my office, and it was like one of those 7D games to where kids got to go in and they had guns and there was like shit they had to shoot and stuff. It was really cool. But if you've never tried one of those 7D video games that we were in Branson, Missouri, a few weeks back, a couple months ago, and we did like every one that we found. They're like 7D, so your seat moves, and then there's like a row of fans in front of you. So if you're like falling off a building, the fans kick on like you're actually falling. It's badass. So if you get a chance to do one of those, pay the $20 or whatever it is and do it. You'll have a blast.
Oh yeah, no, they are sweet. We did the one. What is the name of that movie with like the blue people? Avatar. We did the Avatar ride in Disney.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. We had fast passes and the ride was so good that our fast passes were used up and we waited in line for another hour and like 40 minutes to ride it again. If you go to Disney, I'm not sure if that's, I forget which park it's in. I don't know if it's Universal or if it's one of the Disney parks. I forget. I apologize. But, that ride is fucking badass, man. You sit on these looks like a little bike thing, and they like strap you in, and all of a sudden the big screen comes up, and the same thing, fans, water, and you're supposed to be on one of those, I forget what they call them, one of those little
flying things, on the movie Avatar that they're always riding. Yeah.
Yes, you're on one of those, and oh my God, it is so awesome. You hear people screaming like, "Get me the fuck off this thing! I didn't know it was this kind of ride." And it's crazy, but that ride is awesome, man. That was a good time. That's one thing I remember because I tried to remember my checkbook because that place will fucking take away your kid's college fund. But it was a great time. So I agree with the 7D shit. If any of you guys have a chance to do that kind of stuff, it's well worth it, man. It's a blast.
It was a lot of fun, and my wife's kind of a pansy when it comes to riding any type of rides, but she loved it. Like after we did one, every time we walked up to another one, we'd make sure to do them. So definitely a good ride for somebody who doesn't, like real rides or can't stomach it anymore. The last ride that I rode and my wife rode was at the state fair probably about 6 years ago. And we went like during the day and we rode the Tilt-A-Whirl. And we were like the only people on the ride. And thankfully we waited till the very end of the day to do that because I felt sick the rest of the time. I was ready to throw up. And I actually had to pull over about 10 miles away from the fair on the way home so my wife could throw up. So I can't do the rides anymore, at least the ones that go around and round.
I'm the same way. I was getting ready to say the same thing. I will ride any roller coaster. You can flip me upside down, take me forwards, backwards, but you cannot take me in a fucking circle. I can't do it, man. And I thought maybe I could, and I took my kids to this little carnival we have here. It's called the Glen Burnie Carnival, and it's nothing really special. It's like the normal carnival. It's more of like a nostalgia, like everybody. I've been going it since I was a little kid, so I take my kids to it. But I rode that like Gravitron thing. Dude, Kelly, when I got out of that, I couldn't walk straight. My face was green. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay."
That's the big. Is that the one that you stand up in? It spins around and it pins you to the wall.
Yes.
You
can go up and down. My son's like all laughing and he's all funny. But the funny part is when we got out, he said the same thing. Like, "Daddy, I can't do that stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too, son."
Well, between that and the Tilt-A-Whirl, I mean, if it's been a while since you've done one of those rides, I'm telling you, pull some fucking G's, man. Like fucking 8 G's or some shit. Now that I'm older, I just can't do it.
Yeah, you can drop some LBs too with all the throwing up you're going to be doing. Yeah, it's crazy. But before we forget in this intro, two things that I want to cover. One, I wanted to ask you, how is your rebrand going? How is your customers taking that? Is the reception
It's going really good so far. I mean, we've had a lot of compliments on the vehicles because they're fully wrapped, and I haven't sent out the letter. I'll be sending out the letter probably later this week to our existing customer base to let them know, that we rebranded and why. And so I'm really excited about that. And then once that happens, we'll probably start answering the phones a little different, by the new name. I did buy another van this week. It just got delivered yesterday. I guess last week, and it just got delivered yesterday. And so now I'm at the mercy of the ladder rack and the people who install the ladder rack and the shelving. Because the last time I took the van, the first day we got it, and I did a Facebook Live that day, and dude, I didn't get that van back for a month. They said that they're backed up from the manufacturers. It's like Ergo or something like that makes those ladder racks, and that's what we were waiting on. I've got a call into them. I still haven't heard back from them. I may have to try somebody else, unfortunately, because I'd like to get this thing on the road quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. That definitely sucks. I mean, I give it to you. Your wrap looks sweet, man.
Thanks,
it definitely
man.
does. What kind of van did
Another you get? Ford Transit 250. This one's a little bit nicer. It's got the rear view camera in it, so when you put it in reverse, the little camera on the rear view mirror pops up.
That's what I have.
Awesome. And it has like the other one didn't have cruise control. This one has cruise control. It's got an inverter, like a DC to AC inverter, like right next to the driver's side chair, so you can plug your battery chargers in and be charging your batteries in between calls and stuff. So that's pretty badass.
Yeah, fuck, I don't have that. I do, but only because I added it, not because it came stock. Does it have the sync? Like you can do like the Bluetooth stuff with your phone? Because I love that, being able to put my music and podcast and stuff like straight to the car speakers.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's possible that it has it. I didn't even look at that. So, but it's pretty badass. It's a badass vehicle, man. I wish that's what I was riding in when I was running calls, because there's so much room in those things.
They are, man, and especially if God forbid you had to go into one of those, like, because that's what I did. I mean, when I went off of my own, I had one of those, and then I went back into like a Econoline, which the van is still nice, but after being in one of those, it's almost fucking impossible to go back. So when I was able to get back into one, it was like, and I'm still not even fully into it, but
it's even got a little step on where the side door, they're the sliding side doors, they're not the regular side doors where you have, two doors. It's just a big sliding door. Well, it's even got a step, like, what do you call that? The rail that you put on like pickups and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Side step or whatever.
Yeah. Like the mud bars, or not mud bars.
It could be.
I know what you're talking about though.
Anyhow, it's got that on the side door, so it's freaking sweet. But yeah, I'm ready to send that mail out. I've actually been waiting on my email to be secure for the new business email. So we got a long road ahead of us getting everything switched over, and I'm also working on switching banks as well. So a lot of stuff to get done here, but it's going good.
Well, you've been doing a good job so far, Mr. Kelley. Gonna give you a little round of applause, because you didn't beat around the bush or anything. You just do it. You just did it.
I did,
and. That's good, man. I'm glad that's working out well. The last thing in this intro real fast is, you guys know me. I'm a sports fan, so I have to say this, that anybody out there, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm sorry, and you can go fuck yourself, because the Ravens fucking beat you in your stadium. So Steelers week is big here in Baltimore. I mean, it's huge. It's a rivalry. We respect the Steelers. I mean, obviously, if you guys weren't good, it wouldn't, it really wouldn't be a rivalry. So But yeah, we won. Pretty fucking pumped about that. That's awesome. There's a lot of good games this week. So if your team won, awesome. If they lost, then sorry about your bad luck. But yeah, good week for sports. So I'm happy this week. But all right. I mean, moving on with that, we got a good show for you guys tonight, man. I'm pretty pumped about this one. So you ready to go make money there, Mr. Kelley?
I'm ready. Let's go make some money.
Now, here's Go Make Money with Kelly McKay.
All right, fellas and ladies, I've got tonight 10 mistakes to avoid for service experts. And I think what we'll do, Gil, is I'm going to list them, 1 through 10. And after I list number 1 and I finish it, then we'll get your take on each one. So we make sure to hit on every topic. So number 1, putting too much thought into the quote unquote problem that the dispatcher wrote on your dispatch. This is probably what the customer told them, but remember, the customer's no expert. So just go into every call open-minded.
I agree with that, like 100%. Guys get worried about that. Oh, I'm here, but it's not what you said the problem is. What Kelly just said is 100% correct. When you're going into the call as if even that little thing that you have is just maybe to guide you in the right direction. When you get there, like I always say, and we'll discuss later on, you still go through your process, take your blinders off, check the whole system out. So yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
The problem is people put too much into that, so it kind of can steer you in the wrong direction, and that's the point. Don't do it. Number 2, over-promising and under-delivering. From the time that you call the customer to tell them that you're on your way to explaining the problem, follow through on everything you say. If you say, we're going to schedule something later, or I'm going to send you some literature or information on something, it's your job to follow through and ensure that it happens. You can't just call the office and say, hey, I need you to send this out. You need to follow up. Like when you get back to the office, ask again, make sure that it happened.
Yep. My old saying is the opposite. It's always you want to underpromise and overdeliver. I mean, guys, we're in a customer service business. Yes, we're technically mechanics, we're technicians, but like we talked about a little bit last week, we're still salesmen, we're still part therapists, and you either got to put up or shut up, basically. If you're going to guarantee something to the customer, do not write a check that your ass can't cash. It's that simple. I'll keep it short and sweet. Make sure that you're following through, you're being thorough, and you're doing what you say you're going to do. You're providing the service that the customer thinks they're getting.
Yeah, I'll just add, think before you talk. Don't get yourself caught up in, over-promising something that you can't follow through and deliver on. So always think before you talk. Number 3, do not discuss politics and religion. Just don't do it. There's too much emotion involved in these subjects, and emotion causes feelings. And all it takes is one little misspoken word, and that customer's feeling about you and your company can completely change, and it can change for the worse.
Yes. And I will say this, not that I want to sound like a dirty salesman, but I'm talking to the customer, and yeah, I agree that you should not talk about those things. But I mean, and I won't get into long drawn out conversations, but if they're Republican, I'm a Republican. They're a Democrat, I'm a Democrat. They're, they like, the Yankees. Well, I know I'm not going to go that far, but you get what I mean. Just something to be and it's good to have that interaction, that conversation. But Kelly is, hit the nail on the head with that. Those are just topics that you don't touch. Because we actually had a guy that got into like the Caitlyn Jenner and started talking about transgender stuff somehow. And next thing you know, we get a call, and I got to call a customer back, and it wasn't good over something. It was stupid, but like Kelly's saying, something so minuscule can become a big thing that you end up losing a customer over. You get labeled a certain thing as a company because of one statement. So it's, You definitely got to watch your tongue and watch what you say. I believe in interacting with the customers, the so-called helicopter customers. I like those because to me, I'm giving them visual aids. I'm showing them stuff. And to be honest, they're some of the biggest tickets, some of the happiest customers at the end of the day. But I agree with those topics. That's not something you want to talk about.
It's not something that you normally have to bring up, and it's not something that you usually I'm the same way. I just will agree with them and then move on. I won't let them stay stuck, speaking about these things because there's just there's too many damn emotions tied to it. So number 4, mistake to avoid for a service expert, not putting things away in your vehicle. Stop being a fucking lazy douchebag and put your shit away. Don't just open the door and toss your shit in the back to where you got to dig through a pile of nonsense every time you need something or need to get something out of your truck.
Yep, and I actually just had this conversation not long ago. Guys, at the end of a call, you're being paid, and as a manager, as an owner, we're okay with this. We technically, we rather have it this way. Do your paperwork. Don't wait to do it later. Don't do your timesheet or however you keep track of those things later. Do it when you're there. You're being paid for it. Get it done. Put your tools back where they go. Don't just be, like Kelly said, a lazy fuck and throw it in the back. Then you have to worry about it. It all builds up. You're pissed off because you got to climb over shit. And then now you got to take a Saturday when you're supposed to be spending time with your family to straighten your truck out. When just after every job, whatever you use, put it back where you got it from. I know you're tired. It's been a long day, but it only takes a couple of seconds. Just put the shit back and you're good to go. And hey, all of us have it happen where we don't do that. I mean, I get it, but you want to try to do that more times than you don't, is the point I'm trying to make.
Absolutely. Mistake number 5, not keeping track of what you used so that you can restock it. Time is money. And it's one of those things where just like you developed a process to do preventative maintenances on furnaces, develop your own process to track what you used. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. Write it down, record it on your phone, write it in your phone. Just keep track. And the next time you make it a habit to where every time you pull into the office or you're at a supply house, you look at your notes and be sure to restock what you used.
Yeah, you have to keep track. I mean, because we're all grown ass men. Nobody's gonna check behind you to see what you have, and nothing makes management owner more pissed than when a guy gets to a call and you get that phone call. Hey man, I'm out here. I gotta change a transformer, but I don't have any on the truck. I gotta go get one. That sucks. So we have implemented a couple of different processes. Pretty much the tech is responsible for doing their truck. They do not go to supply houses. You will call in your order and it will be delivered to our shop. We have it set up with a couple of different places. Normally with us, it's closest is with Ari Michaels. I went through, it was a pain in the ass, but I went through all the stuff that we pretty much used and I wrote down Ari Michaels part numbers. I made copies of this paper, put it in everybody's mailbox. Everybody has it. So there's no mix up. You can call and be like, I need 2 7.5 R15s, 2 blah, blah, blah. So they can do that. Or every time they call in and they check out of a call, saying what they did, how much money they collected, how they collect it, check, credit card, blah, blah, cash. They can tell the girl on the phone, hey, I used a transformer. I need to get a transformer and a 45/5 capacitor, and she will order it for you. We're trying to make that process better, but you got to have what you need to do the job, and that's your responsibility as a tech and having that van. That's one of the responsibilities. But I will say real fast, and won't go too long, but don't overstock, guys. That truck is not supposed to be a mobile warehouse per se. Ideally, you want things you're putting them on the shelf, and it's just as fast as you're putting them on, you're taking them off. You don't want things sitting on the shelf collecting dust because that means it's just wasted money. So make sure you're not ordering, 50 capacitors or something like that. You're ordering what you need to get you by, and then don't wait till you're using your last one to order them. In the summertime, capacitor is a big thing. So if you're getting down to, I only have one 45/5 and one of the common ones left, that's the time to order. Don't wait till you're out and then you got to wait a day to get your stuff. And then you're going to have that situation we just talked about happen, which is no good for anybody.
Number 6, disagreeing with the customer. Right. Always agree. Right or wrong, the first step is to agree. You can always turn around and come back to that subject later and maybe hit it from a different angle. But the bottom line is you just want to agree. If a customer tells you, well, I used to do this for a living and blah, 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 and I think it's this. Okay, well, I'm going to check that out for you and we'll see if you're right. Just agree.
Yeah, and it's just being polite. I agree. I mean, you want to agree to it, and even if you know that they're flat out wrong, I mean, you're being polite.
Yes.
Just go along with the flow. It's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you fix their problem and they're up and running, they're going to be happy. But that guy who's out there, we always get the I'm an engineer. We don't. Whatever. We don't care what their job is. Just like Kelly said, just agree, fix the problem, and get rolling. Don't make a problem that doesn't need to be one.
Number 7. This is a big one, and we've all done it. Stop. Stop. Do not assume anything. And what I mean by that is don't assume because you pull up and the house doesn't look pretty, or the yard hasn't been mowed, or there's an extra couple of cars in the driveway that haven't ran for a while. Don't ever assume that they don't have money or that they don't want the best. It goes back to options. Let the customer pick. It's not about you. It's about the customer. Offer them options. Let them choose. If they want the Band-Aid option, great. Be happy to do any option they choose. Just stop assuming.
Yeah, Christ, Kelly, I could do a whole fucking podcast on this, man. Yes, I agree. You can definitely not assume, because there's plenty of houses I've walked into that look like shit. You think that people don't got 2 nickels to rub together and they're buying an inverter system, and you can walk into a big old fancy house, and they're credit rich and they apply for credit and get declined.
Yes.
So definitely never prejudge a house. You treat every customer the same. That's why I tell people every install is the same, like we talked about previous on a prior podcast. You treat every house the same as far as like booties, as far as like the level of care you're taking. It's the same across the board. And always remember, assume, make an ass out of you and me. I always remember that since I was a child, and definitely do not assume that, because it won't end up well and you'll miss out on things.
Number 8 on the list of the top 10 mistakes to avoid for service experts is you were given 2 ears and 1 goddamn mouth for a reason. Listen twice as much as you talk. This will allow you to uncover deeper issues that the customer is having, which allows you to really customize the solutions you offer. So always be mindful of that, to listen, because the more that you listen, you will uncover the true problems and the emotions that lie behind some of the issues that you can actually provide solutions to.
Yep, definitely. I always say, we all know that the customer, when they tell you stuff, that a lot of times they're going to feed you a lot of bullshit, and you have to be able to sift and sort through that to take the good information. But the point is, a lot of times there is good information in there. Like Kelly said before, the customers aren't technicians. They don't know the lingo and how to explain it. So they're explaining it in their way. You have to be there to interpret that and try to figure out what they mean. The other thing is, sometimes be able to ask the right questions and then let them answer. I see sometimes where technicians will ask a question and then they're like trying to answer their own question, and the customer's like, can't get a word in edgewise. Ask the question, let the customer say what they got to say, absorb that information, and then make your best judgment from that.
Number 9, complaining. With any jobs, there's good days and bad days. You got to take the bad with the good. The bottom line is you could be standing all day in one spot in a factory stamping parts. Be grateful that you aren't counting down the minutes to get off work every day. And stop complaining when there's too much work, because you're just going to turn around and complain when there's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, to the young guys, I guess you guys don't know what you're getting into per se, but ask questions. Guys will tell you it's not a secret, and guys that have been in the trade, so quit your bitching. Make money when there's money to be made. I mean, we've talked about this, 100 times over. In the summertime, in the wintertime, whatever it is, when you're busy, you're going to work, make that money. And when it's slow, take the hours you can get. You can't bitch about it. I mean, it's no fun to work with somebody like that. It's not fun to employ somebody like that. And it just sucks to be that guy. We know that we have those shitty days where you're like, fuck, man, I hate this day. And then sometimes you have those cushy days. So you got to take the good with the bad.
Number 10, huge mistake that we've all made, hurrying through calls. This creates callbacks. It creates a feeling of underappreciation in the customer's mind, a sense of distrust in you and your company's abilities. So people can feel it when you're in a rush. So slow down. So my last thought is just to keep the spotlight on the customer whenever you're with them. And it goes back to Gil's famous line, do what the next guy won't. But right now, I'll tell you, if you want less callbacks this winter, because winter callbacks seem to be, in my eyes, far more excessive than summer callbacks. And one of the reasons for that is we just don't stick with the furnace long enough. So stick with the furnace. After you get it running, you get everything fixed, and you've done a temperature rise, and you've checked it to the data plate on the furnace to make sure that you're within specs. Stick with the furnace. Let it run for 20 minutes before you walk away from it. I know it seems like a long time, but we have to ensure that everything's running, because especially if you were out there and you had a limit switch trip of any kind, stick with that thing and make sure that you're good to go before you leave.
Yeah, no, definitely. You only customer you worry about is the one that you're at that moment. Granted, you need to be efficient in what you're doing, but you're only worried about the customer you're at. They paid for your time. I mean, most of us are getting paid by the hour. If you're a commission guy, well, I mean, that sucks for you, but either way, you're getting paid for what you're doing. You, like Kelly said, you need to give them the time and devotion to follow through. Like another example, if you're charging a unit, I mean, that you need to let that system run and balance out before you start blasting liquid refrigerant in there. That you give it a little bit, you see how it reacts. Normally we always say at most you give it like at most a pound, and then you close your gauges off, you let it go, you let it run 10 minutes, check it out. Do the processes, take your time. Every customer is paying for that service and they should get that. And one thing real fast is never make a comment to the customer, oh, I got 5 more calls after you. When you say stuff like that, even though maybe you're not rushing, but when you say stuff like that, it makes it seem like you are. That almost goes back to complaining too. Customers don't care. They don't give a fuck how many calls you have that day. They don't care how late you're working that night. They're worried about getting their problem solved. So just keep that information to yourself. I mean, they don't care that you worked, 60 hours that week. And like I said, you got 5 more calls. So just it's pointless in saying that stuff. But yeah,
No, you have to be aware. Yeah, you have to be aware, and you have to be intentional with every word you say, because it's all a reflection of the culture of the company and the service that you provide. So always ask yourself, is this coming from a company of excellence? Whether it be communication, always keep that in mind. Any communication, any one-on-one time, anything you say, any email you send, any phone call you make, any estimate you write, is this coming, or invoice that you write, is this coming from a company of excellence? If it's not, double check it, make sure that you run spell check. It's all a reflection of the company. And if you want to provide excellent service and stay in the upper echelon of the customer's mind, keep this stuff top of mind.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point that, I mean, obviously he's talking about running spell check. That's for guys that are, automated using tablets and stuff, which I know most people are. But any people that are still like us now, we're almost to the tablets. If you're handwriting tickets, choose your wording wisely. I mean, I guess that's even typing, don't, I looked at the unit and we was downstairs and we be doing this. You know what I mean? Like, don't make sure you're spoken
Yeah.
and you're speaking professionally. I always tell guys that, you can write your tickets out a couple of ways. You can write it as if you're talking to the office or like you're speaking to the customer. I mean, does that make sense? How you don't want to like go back and forth? Like I changed the filter for the customer. You just, how you write your ticket is more
Yeah.
important than you think so.
Yeah, every form of communication matters. Just remember that and do the best you can. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have misspellings, but do the best you can to reflect a positive light on the company and yourself.
Yeah. I mean, just remember, guys, when you're out there, your company name and prestige and reputation, that's what got you the call. That's what got you in the door. But the invoice and how much your ticket is and what the customer does, that's because they're buying you. When you go there, they're buying you because you're the representative. You're presenting the company to them, the problems. And if they don't do something or don't buy, it's because they didn't trust you or something that you did. And I hate to be that blunt, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. There is certain customers that never intended to spend any money, but a lot of times that is the case and what it boils down to.
You said prestige. That made me think of prestige worldwide.
That's so
Wide,
funny. I was thinking,
yeah. Gotta get me some boats and
all right, let's not let this turn into a circus.
All right.
Sorry guys, I've been playing with a bunch of different sound effects and I'm trying not to hit them all randomly when Kelly's talking. So,
Whoa.
all right, that you said you had 10, man. That was some good stuff, man. That's some good tips right there that Kelly just gave. And I would take every little thing that he just said and what we just said and talked about to the bank. Those are all good tips to help somebody out in the field. Whether you're new, you're old, none of us are perfect, man. Reevaluate your game, reevaluate your process, and maybe you're good at 1 through 6, but 7 and 8 are kind of weak. Try to tweak those a little bit. So we always have room for improvement, and all those things are a must, without a doubt. I couldn't agree more with every single thing that Kelly said.
Avoid those mistakes, and you're going to have a great career.
Yep. Now,
all right, let's moving on.
Okay.
Now time to say what with Gil Kelley.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's like, hello. All right, so in this Say What segment, and it's kind of good because it carries on to pretty much a little bit with what Kelly said. I almost wanted to shut him down at the end because I didn't want him to go in too far with that furnace. Guys, I'm talking about PMs. We're getting into PM season, and particularly I'm talking about fall PMs. And I just want to go over some things that I think need to be included into a proper fall PM. I know that this can be hard to dial in because it can be a gas furnace, it can be a heat pump. So I guess I'll let me and Kelly go back and forth, but I just want to give some tips and guys, remember, this is just the way I do things. It's something that I found that work. I mean, a lot of other guys are going to have other ways that work, but regardless, all the things that we're mentioning need to be checked regardless. My thing is when you do a PM, obviously, first and foremost, you want to document everything that you're checking, you're writing down. Do the customers necessarily need to know what that capacitor read, what that amperage was? No, but I think that stuff should be documented somewhere just to have into the records. But I don't necessarily need the customer needs to know that. But for example, little things like when you go to check the thermostat, like when you walk into a call, first of all, like all the things Kelly just said, you want to make sure you're doing all of those things. You're out there, your truck is stocked, you've been on time, your phone call, your interaction with the customer was good. You started that call at PM off, and you got to have that good attitude. Like I always say, you can't be in that monotonous, oh, it's just a fucking PM. No, these PMs are fucking gold, guys. They are gold. You need to realize what you're doing and take your time to do that PM properly. I always say, anywhere, depending on your knowledge, 45 minutes, I'll even say an hour and a half for, at the most, to do a PM.
Oh, sorry about that. I was unmuted. I was muted there. Sorry.
No,
I think that, for one, it's not a race. Don't try to rush through it. Just make sure you do a very thorough job for the customer, and check every single thing that you possibly can while you're there. And then chances are you're going to find some things that are quite not up to par, and that's an opportunity to offer something to, make their system have a far less chance of breaking down in an emergency type situation. So I think so for the most part, Gil, but it depends. If it's the first time that you've been there, it could be an hour and a half.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, when I say 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I mean just checking the system. If you find issues and you have to clean coils or change a capacitor or whatever have you, then obviously that time is going to get added onto that. But you need to have a process. Like we've said, we have a sheet that we use that we're going to revamp and add some more things to it. And I'm actually going to make them like one for a gas furnace, one for a heat pump, for a boiler, just so they're individualized. You can use them to go more in depth. But like what I was going to say is little things, guys. When you walk in, like I'm going to use a gas furnace for example, for this time. Obviously, you want to check that thermostat and make sure that it works. Make sure it's level. Make sure it's secure to the wall. If it's not level that thing out. If it's wobbly, secure that thermostat to the wall. Little things like that. Put a level on it. Those little torpedo levels, put it on the thermostat. Make sure that thing is level. The customer sees you do that kind of stuff. That's adding value, because I guarantee that everybody's doing it. And when you're checking, there's so many things to check before you ever even turn the furnace on or the system on in general. Checking all your electrical connections. All your spades are tight. They're on where they got to be. There's no burnt spots on the board. With a furnace, you can check your safety circuit when it's off. Ohm it out. Make sure you have continuity all the way through. You have continuity through your high limit switch. You cleaned your flame sensor. You've ohmed out your hot surface igniter. Granted, it's going to be your ohm range is. There's not really a general to be. There's it depends on the type and brand that you're using. I do have a sheet that it's actually, I won't take credit for it. Somebody on Facebook has shared it, which is great. It has all the different brands. I will try to find that and post it in the Facebook group, that it gives you the ohm range they should be in, because you want to check that when it's not, you can't run the furnace for 20 minutes, get it all hot and then check it, because it's going to distort your reading and you're not going to get a true reading of it. One thing that we do, I'll ask your opinion, Kelly. It's just something, maybe not on a brand new furnace, but obviously, you're taking your temperature rise and all that kind of stuff. Say the temperature rise is 40 to 70. You want to be right in the middle. Okay. So 55 is ideal. You don't want to be too low. You don't want to be too high. But for us, if that furnace is definitely, if it's out of warranty, but normally I say, I really don't even have a year, but I would say 5 years or older. I want guys pulling blowers and physically looking at the heat exchanger. Granted, if it's a 90%er, you're only going to look at the secondary. You're going to have to look at the primary another way, go down through the coil. Just checking them out. Definitely, if you have a high temperature rise or some other things that are going on, if that filter is plugged up, if you look at it and you're like, man, this is a 5-ton system and that's a tiny return. Okay, alarm bells should be going off in your head. This is what I mean by take a look at the big picture. That's when you need to be looking at this kind of stuff. But you got to...
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... Well, I'll ask you this real fast. Before I was rambling on, but I like guys pulling the blowers out. Pulling blowers out it's a couple of screws, you take it out. Even the ones that have a board on the front. It's simple. I mean, any seasoned tech can take a blower out in minutes. It's not hard, and climbing in and looking at it, it's just to visually see heat exchangers.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
That's the way I see it. That's the only way you're going to be able to inspect the heat exchanger. If it's a tubular or, any in-shop burner, if it's not ribbon burner, which even if it's ribbon burner, we're pulling the blower so we can do the, water test on it and make sure that no water's leaking through it. But yeah, on any tubular and any in-shot burner one, you got to pull the blower. You just never know if it's cracked or not without just pulling it and checking it out.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying that if it's a brand new furnace, go, ripping it out and checking the heat exchanger and stuff like that. Obviously, you're going to take some of the readings that you have, and you're going to want to, if they lead you to believe something's wrong, it's overheating, you need to check that. If your readings, the information that's given to you, look at it. If it's saying, if something's sticking out, you need to look into it. Don't just, oh, it's probably okay. No, that's how people die and people lose jobs and companies shut down. Lawsuits happen. Look into that. And I've said it 100 times. Heat exchanger experts, check them out. I'm not going to go in anymore because I've already said that. But
I got a question.
Yeah.
So what if you pull the blower out and it's filthy, and then you look up through? I mean, that's one thing. But then you look up. Also, if you're pulling the blower, I'll just say this real quick, is once you're pulling the blower and you slide under there to inspect the heat exchanger, be sure to look past the heat exchanger at the evaporator coil also while you're under there, because you have a pretty good view most of the times. If it's 80%, obviously if it's 90%, you got the secondary heat exchanger and you can't see it, but you still, it's a good idea to check the secondary heat exchanger too, to make sure that it's clean and doesn't need to be brushed off and vacuumed out. But my question is, if you need to clean the blower wheel, you've got to completely pull it, take it outside, pull the wheel out of the housing and clean it. Is that an option for the customer? Like, do you charge something extra for that?
No, to me, that's a blower wheel cleaning. That's just what it is.
I'm charging extra for it this year. I know a lot of companies have for many years, but we don't sell our maintenance agreement for enough money usually to cover all of that. If it's going to take an extra 45 minutes to completely disassemble something and put it back together, and so it's not going to be much, but it's going to be something.
Oh, well, then I misread your question. Yeah, cleaning that blower wheel is not going to be included in the PM. No, there will be a charge to do it. So
and just like the evaporator coil.
Yeah,
and the evaporator coil as well. If you've got to pull it apart and clean it, you're going to charge an extra charge above and beyond, right?
Yes. They're just going to get a discount on what that is. Yeah.
Sure.
So I misread your question. If it's just like a little bit and you can just brush it off, then yeah, we're not going to charge for that. But if that's grimy and you have to clean it, then yeah, there's going to be a charge. But like Kelly just said, if you look and the filter's plugged up and it's dirty, the blower wheel's dirty, you need to brush that secondary heat exchanger. And guys, they look at the furnace and they don't think about that coil. Like Kelly just said, well, if that coil is blocked, that could be causing your furnace to cut off on high limit because that air can't pass, that heat's stacking up inside of there. And that's a problem. So you do need to be looking at all that kind of stuff. That can affect your temperature rise and things like that.
It can also cause excessive heat because the flue gas is excessively hot. So a lot of times those 90% furnaces will have some type of a limit on the housing for the combustion motor. And if you're tripping that, you probably got a dirty secondary heat exchanger coil.
Yep. And they do get dirty on the outside, but I'm going to give you a little tech tip that I was explaining to one of my techs the other day. On a 90% furnace, when you put your hand on the top of the furnace, it should not be hot, okay? The hottest point of that heat exchanger should be, maybe I would say 6 to 8 inches inside of the heat exchanger is where that heat should actually be. So if you start feeling the top of that furnace, I can almost guarantee you that you start feeling the top of that furnace and it's like you can't keep your hand on it. It's that hot. I can guarantee that your secondary heat exchanger is plugged. I've seen it happen, and it might be at the beginning stages, but that just means that it's clogged. Those gases are not able to condense and actually drain out, so that those gases are going to start to back up into the primary, where you're going to be condensing in your primary heat exchanger, which you don't want water there. That's going to cause rust spots, eventually cracks, blah, blah, blah. So just a little tech tip for you guys, just to know that if you happen to notice something like that, you put your hand on the top of the furnace and you're like, man, that's hot. Shouldn't be that way. It's a problem. Have you had that issue, Cal?
Sure, a few times. it's one of those things that it's shocking because on the one particular time that it really happened that I can recall, it was a pretty new furnace. Like we put it in like the beginning of summer and they got a whole system. And then by fall, that secondary heat exchanger was completely clogged already. And they had been changing their filters, but they had a bunch of dogs in the house that were shedding all over the place. So just be aware that secondary heat exchanger can get dirty pretty quickly.
Yeah, it can. And obviously you can brush the outer, because I mean, it looks like a coil, it's fins. You can brush that, but if the internal portion gets clogged, then you have to change it. There's nothing you can do about that.
No.
But I mean, we're going on here too long, so I don't want to go in too far. But I guess the purpose of this is to be able to take your time and check everything, that you're doing a thorough PM, and that you're offering things that are going to help the system. Obviously, you're doing these PMs and you're trying to create value for your company. You're trying to, I'm not saying to sell them things they don't need, but if that system could use a hard start, a start assist, whatever you call it, a surge protector, cleanings, that's the time to offer it. You put those things on there and let the customer say no to it. You got to be checking all these little things and not just zipping through it. I see too many guys, they check a furnace and they take a temperature rise and, oh, it looks good. Like here, I mean, we're cleaning the burners. We're cleaning different things. Like the burners cleaning is included.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all the obvious electrical stuff, making sure it's safe to run as far as the safeties and all that kind of stuff. If it's a 90%er, you're cleaning the, collector box or whatever for that drain. I mean, that's a drain, guys. You need to blow that drain out. Make sure that collector bucket gets gunked up inside of there. Clean it out. RPMs on the inducer motor. It's pulling the right, not RPMs, amperage. It's pulling the right amperage. Just make sure you're going through there. And I am big on, if it's a system that we installed, then I say no, or if we've been there before as far as checking gas pressure. But if it's a new customer, then you check gas pressure. Don't just assume that the last guy, set it up properly, because so many guys think that these things come out of the box and everything's fine. Sometimes from shipping and banging around, sometimes those valves get out of whack. So with us, I mean, how we do it is every new install that's a gas furnace, we're setting the gas pressure, especially modulating valves or multi-stage where you have to set it to 3.6 and then 1.8 and stuff like that. We're setting those things. And maybe if you've been to a customer's house several times, you would like to hope that your colleague followed the process. I wouldn't say do it, or if you've done it before, but if it's a new customer, then you need to be checking gas pressure and make sure that that's right. Something little like that, a system overfiring, could cause issues and,
premature failure too,
Exactly. Premature failure. They're consuming more gas than they need to. And the other thing real fast, a tech tip is, look, some of these installers, when they're putting in gas pipe, they don't use a backup wrench. I can't tell you how many times that we went the first time there, another company installed it, they didn't use a backup wrench, and you look at the orifices and they're cocked up. Even if it's just the slightest bit and they're cocked, that's going to lead to a problem, So just open your eyes. I won't go in too far. And I know I talked more about furnaces, but the same with heat pumps, that you're checking the refrigerant pressures. You're doing it right. You know where to hook your gauges up. You're checking all those things out. Don't assume, even though I am very big on non-invasive testing, like when I do AC PMs, I take all my temperatures and I try to convert those temperatures to pressures using PT charts. And if everything looks good, then I won't put gauges on, just because I think every time you do, you're always taking a little bit of refrigerant out. And then after 5-6 years, you go behind another company and some guys, chasing a leak that doesn't exist. But that's just my thoughts about it. But do the process, do what check everything out, be thorough. If any of you guys, I do have a paper, like I've told people, it's nothing fancy. I've had a shitload of people ask for it though. If you want that as just a base to build on, because that's pretty much what I'm doing. This was a base. But if you want a copy of this sheet, let me know. I'll be more than happy to email it to you. If it helps, great. If not, like I said, it's nothing fancy. But PMs are important, guys. I know we're going to get through that monotonous time of the year, but make sure you're doing what you got to do. We got to make these PMs count. So
I'll just add, one of the most important things, if you've got a natural draft furnace, just ensure 100% without question that flue is venting. That's when, if for any reason there's an obstruction, that thing can make carbon monoxide, like deadly levels of carbon monoxide, very quickly, because that flue gas pours right out of the draft hood and gets reburnt, because it gets reintroduced to the flame. And so just be very aware and make sure that it is venting properly, always.
Yeah, well, I agree with that 100%. And you guys know, and just a few things I'll tell you that I do. I am very big on, I wear a personal safety CO detector. I can't tell you how many times that thing has saved me, where I've literally walked into a furnace room and the thing is going boop, 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 boop. I may have farted too, but I don't know.
Probably.
But no, that thing has saved me. And I do think that you should check the CO in the space. And I always say that you tell customers, if they have any gas appliances that you should just bring up, if you notice that you don't see them, that they should have CO detectors in the house. Just bring it up. I mean, if you offer them, then you can put that on your ticket. We do. We sell them, because if they have gas appliances in the house, there should be a CO detector on every floor. I mean, obviously they don't just want one at their bedroom. By the time that thing goes off, most of them, by the time that goes off, they're dead already. You want to be alarmed so that you could, the way I judge them is pretty much worse. Obviously, if you're awake, you're going to hear something. But if I'm asleep, I want to be able to be awoken before I've ingested too much and now I'm not going to wake up, So that's just my opinion on it. But we're getting on time. I rambled. Kelly's segment always takes up all the fucking time, and I get stuck with the short.
Whatever. You're the one rambling tonight, not me.
Yeah.
I have had my moments too, but not tonight. So.
Yeah, no, I'm just busting balls. But yeah, I definitely think that there's some good information here, guys. Take it as you will. If any new guys out there, if like I said, if you need help doing PMs or you need some kind of layout, let us know. We'll help in any way. Let's get ahead to go ahead and closing this thing out, Kel.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Thank you to everybody who's went and purchased t-shirts. We greatly appreciate that. The link is in the HVAC Uncensored Facebook group. Also, I just want to say, make sure to check out my latest video on YouTube at HVAC Millionaire. It's probably worth $5,000 to you if you just watch that video. It's 38 minutes long. Take the time and get it done. Other than that, thanks so much for your support. We are the #1 fastest growing HVAC podcast in the nation right now. So thank you for listening. Thank you. And I think that's it. Go make money.
There we go. That's what we wanted to hear. Yes, man. As always, thank you guys for everything. We have always been thankful to you guys since day one. It's not anything new. We wouldn't be possible without you guys. So we thank each and every one of you for all that you do and all the support that you give us. And like Kelly said, that merchandise links for Teespring is actually in our Facebook group. It is pinned as an announcement at the top, the same place you can find any previous podcast in the Facebook group. But obviously, we'd rather you be going to, however you listen to the content, you'll listen to it. But also all the major podcast apps, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Those should be up. They should be up this week, if not definitely next week. Our email list, we want you guys to get on our email list. And you, speaking of the email list, all you guys that have purchased shirts, I'm so surprised that so many things have been sold. All you guys who already bought stuff, make sure that you're on the email list and you email us, with your picture of the shirt or picture of whatever you got, and that you're on the email list, because me and Kelly are going to do a drawing just for those people. And this is going to be a big prize, guys, not something small. If you guys are willing to spend money and buy a shirt and stuff like that, we're going to give away something big. So make sure that you do that. I don't want you guys to miss out. And thank you for the people that have made those purchases. So I won't go any longer. Hope everybody had a great week. Should be a great Friday when you're listening to this. As always, stay safe, be careful. You always want to make it home the same way you left. Always do what the next guy's not doing. Until next week, I will talk at you fuckers later. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.